I have a little echo on this. I feel like a rock star. I didn't fish for that at all. Thank you guys so much for coming out. My name is Jenelle Riley, and I'm so happy to welcome you to this Q&A with Elizabeth Blue. At this point, please join me in welcoming the actress who plays the titular role. She has appeared opposite the likes of Rachel Weisz in The Whistleblower and Kevin Spacey in Father of Invention. Please welcome Anna Schafer.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here, and you look so healthy, physically and mentally. It's a huge, huge relief for all of us. We were a little worried.
Yeah, I just did an interview, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, you smile, you laugh," and I said, "Yeah, I do."
You're like acting. That's what we do. As I was telling you, this is an audience of SAG actors, so I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? What was the project?
It was Father of Invention.
It was?
Yeah, that was my first one.
Wow, that couldn't have been your first audition, though. You'd probably been, okay.
No, definitely not. My first auditions, many of them, were a full-on disaster. And I used to have the worst anxiety going into rooms. I still do, by the way. It's like a constant struggle. But yeah, I've had like a year and a half of auditioning a lot, and then Father of Invention.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did Elizabeth Blue find its way to you, and was that an audition situation?
It was, yeah. I got the script from the producer, Joe Dane, who I've worked with before, and I read the script, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit, but I fell in love with the story, and then when I found out that it was based on Vincent's story in 2010, where all of his medications failed, and Joe chose to stay home with him and take care of him, it became that much more appealing. And I walked in and I auditioned. We did 3 scenes, and I got a call the next day that I got it.
That quickly?
Yeah.
That's amazing. We actually had a question from Robert Babish, I think it is. Oh, right in the front, thanks. Wanted to know if the film is based on a true story.
Yes, so it is based on the writer-director's real life. So in 2010, all of his medications failed, and he went from being a functioning schizophrenic to basically having episodes every single day. So every episode you see in the film is something that he has experienced. The train scene is something that actually happened in their home. The raccoons are a very real thing. He sees them a lot, and they're sort of the nice hallucinations, the comforting ones. Tim is a character or a hallucination that he has seen since he was 14 years old, and he is that vicious.
Wow. And you mentioned you knew before you went into the audition that this was sort of his story. Did that make it even more intimidating?
Yeah.
Because you're kind of playing him for him.
Well, it's rare, right, that you get to portray a character that is based on your writer-director. I mean, I don't think that doesn't happen that often. So it was really intimidating, but also really special that you got to have him there to give you the feedback.
Did you ever ask him why he made it a female character, since this was autobiographical?
I didn't, but a lot of people do, all the time. And he always says that he wanted to make a film that the focus was schizophrenia, the focus was mental illness. And if he made a story about a gay couple dealing with schizophrenia, that focus might shift a little bit, and he wanted to just make it more universal.
Oh, interesting. Oh, because that's right, his partner is a male.
Yes.
So is the husband in this movie
Yeah,
to
and
some extent.
right, and he's also, so they're, Vincent's the writer-director and Joe's the producer of the film, so they kind of made this together.
And this might make you hate yourself even more, but this is Vincent's first feature film. Yeah. He comes from a painting background, I believe. Mm-hmm. What was that like as an actress working with someone? I mean, was he different as a director?
Well, he made 4 shorts that were all amazing, but he was different. The way he worked with me, he didn't believe in rehearsing the scenes or really even talking about them. He kind of opened up to me, said, "Come on in, here's my life. See what this looks like." And then he got to know me better than any of my friends know me. Like, we're talking deep. He asked me some things. I was like, really? You're going to ask me that? But it was amazing because we did get so close, and this amazing relationship and friendship was super inspiring to me. And seeing his episodes firsthand really allowed me to understand what Elizabeth was going through.
This may be insensitive, but did you just happen to witness the episodes, or did he sort of do it for you?
No, so there was one scene in the film that I was having a really hard time with, and that was the train scene. Mm-hmm. And I came in one day and I said, I just don't know what this is going to look like. I can't relate to it. I don't know what it's going to, I can't make it personal to myself. And he kind of said, don't worry, like it'll come. So on the day of chemistry reads, we were sitting on the couch, waiting for the next guy to come. And Vincent sat up and looked at me and said, do you hear that? So like any person, I answered, and I was like, yeah, I think it's some like noise next door. And he kind of looked right past me and he said, do you hear that? Do you hear that? And he got up and started pacing the room, knocking things over, opening cabinets, opening doors, looking for this noise that he was hearing. I was completely paralyzed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what was really happening. It took me a second. But Joe was there, his husband. And I remember him getting up and he was like, Vin, look at me. And he got up, grabbed him, Vincent pushed him off and kept pacing the room. Joe got the medication, Safris, which is in the film, and gave it to him. And within like a minute, Vincent went really still. And then they left the room. 10 minutes later, he came back and Vincent was Vincent again. And he asked me if I scared him, if he scared me. And I said, yes, I was completely terrified. But I was like, do you want to know the good news? And he's like, what's the good news? I said, I get the train scene. Wow. I could see it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Was that the only time that happened, or did you have encounters like that during shooting?
He had two episodes during filming where he had to leave set, and Joe kind of had to fill in for him. But they knew that might happen, and they were really prepared for it, and the entire crew and cast was also really prepared for it.
You mentioned you did 3 scenes at the audition?
Yes.
Do you remember which ones they were?
Yeah, it was the Christmas tree lot scene, one of the Dr. Bowman scenes, and a small part of the Tim scene.
So a good range in there.
Yeah.
And how did you prepare? Was there someone that you normally work with, or do you just like to prepare yourself?
Honestly, I memorize my lines, which is like always the first thing I do. And then I watch Snake Pit. I don't know why. I mean, it's about mental illness, but it's not, just sort of to get in the mindset of, that genre. And then I just went in and brought myself. I know that sounds cliche, but I just knew that if I was right for it and I bring my true self, then it would work out.
Did you leave the audition going, nailed it, or that was terrible, or just put it aside?
I called my mom, and she's like, how did it go? And I said, I have no idea. Like, I don't know. I don't think they liked me. And this happens to me all the time where I walk into a room, and there's like a vacuum that happens, and I do my scenes, and then I walk out, and I'm like, did I say my lines? Did I even do the right lines? Did I even speak English? Like, I have no idea what happened. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you cared about the script. You really liked it when you read it. But at the same time, they tell you to do the audition and walk away and not think about it, which is next to impossible. But you don't want to obsess.
I obsess.
Yeah.
I obsess.
Well, that was nice that they called you the next day then.
Yeah, it was.
Was that to tell you had the part, or you're kidding? They told you on the phone.
He called me personally and he said, I want you to be my Elizabeth. And I don't think I believed him. I was like, who is this? But yeah, it was amazing. It was a really surreal experience.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your largest role in a film to date. I mean, you're in every scene.
Far.
Yeah, were you kind of surprised you didn't have to jump through more hoops?
A little bit. A little bit. I don't think that happens often, but I'm happy it did.
Yeah, especially for a role this challenging.
Yeah.
We have another question from Zoe. Is it Kaplanis? Oh, hey. Wanted to know how you prepared for the role. Any special research or?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I spent a lot of time with Vincent, and this character was based on him, so I got to know him really well. I got to see the episodes firsthand, but what kind of really drove it home for me was I got to spend time with the real Dr. Bowman. So Dr. Bowman is actually Vincent's psychiatrist. He was he consulted on this film, and
his name's not Bowman, is it?
His name is Dr. Bowman, so if anyone needs a good psychiatrist.
Does he look anything like Adele?
He doesn't look like Adewale, but it's funny because Adewale met with him a few times, and he did really bring his like essence to the character.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so I got
amazing.
to meet with him a bunch, and I remember in one of the first sessions, I asked him, how can I make this real for me? Because I don't know what it's like to have schizophrenia, but how can I connect? How can I make this relatable? And he said, he asked me if I ever had a nightmare. Now, I had a 2-year-old at the time we were shooting, and since I had her, I've had like the worst nightmares. And we're talking about like something, maybe because I watch Game of Thrones too much, and it's like really violent. But I had these really awful dreams of something bad happening to her, and I remember waking up and crying and running to her room and checking on her, and coming back and being able to tell myself like that was just a dream, like go back to sleep, you're fine. And he said to me, okay. He's like, great. And I was like, great, that sounds great. It's terrible. But he's like, listen, imagine you had that same dream during the day, that you weren't able to tell yourself, oh, that was just a dream. She's fine. There's no way of telling the difference between a dream and reality. That's how I could make it sort of make you understand what it's like. And that really hit home for me because my dreams were insane.
Have they subsided, I hope?
A little bit. Not really. No, I mean, I just had to leave her for the first time and had like a full-on panic attack. Like, I don't know what, motherhood just destroyed me. Like,
It does
I'm more anxious and more, it's not.
Well, I'm curious because this is such a challenging role, and I imagine it wasn't a very long shooting schedule.
15 days.
Wow. Okay, that's even less than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that will make you crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, was it hard not to take this character home with you, and how did you sort of,
She came
keep
home with
yourself?
me. She stayed with me after we were done. I pushed my daughter's bedtime by like an hour because I really wanted to see, because when I left, she was still sleeping. And I really wanted to see her every night and sort of let her know, like, mommy comes home and it's okay. And I couldn't afford to bring Elizabeth to her. So it was in that 30 minutes that I got to rock her to sleep and sing Baby Beluga to her that I sort of put Elizabeth away in a suitcase somewhere and just be really present for my daughter and just be mama. And then she would fall asleep, and then I would pass out from just being exhausted and slightly abused. And I would wake up sort of in that state of mind again.
Really, and go right to set.
Yeah.
I mean, a 15-day shooting schedule. I can't even imagine. Like, what is an average day like? You're doing so many intense scenes in probably several locations.
Most of the intense scenes were in the first week. They really, they wanted me for the next 2 weeks to just look like hell, so they gave me all the hard stuff in the beginning. It was really intense, but at the same time, they had this wonderful way of planning out the scenes where it didn't feel like it was too much. There was always like one really hard scene of the day, and then the rest kind of flowed. And the way that Vincent and Joe work is, it was a hard subject, but it was a really loving set and a really supportive set. And I mean, the crew and the cast, everyone was really amazing. So it was, I don't want to say it was easy because it wasn't, but it was really nice.
What was the hardest day or moment on set?
The train scene.
That's going to be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even know what happened that day because I remember coming in and being really nervous, and they sat me on the couch and they're like, we're just going to play the noise for you just so you like have an idea. So they clear the room, blasted a train basically. And I was like, oh gosh. And then they came back, they're like, you get what you're supposed to hear. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I get it. And then they said action, and I said this to Vincent, I said, I don't really know what happened because it's like Anna left my body And I just kind of lost it and truly believed that I was looking for this noise, and sort of became this, you know, manic person that really didn't know what was happening. And then when he called cut, he came into the room with like tears in his eyes, and I fell to the floor and started hysterically crying. I'm not crying in the scene, but something happened where I just completely lost it. And that was when he had to leave set. That was his first episode. And then Joe stepped in and he's like, "Can you do it again?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "You're not supposed to be crying, so you need to go like calm down, and then you need to do it again." I was like, "Fine." So we did it one more time, and that was it.
You only shot it twice?
Twice.
Wow. And I shouldn't say only. I mean, that's a horrible scene to have to shoot.
By the way, the next day I came in and I was so confused. Every time I get up, I like push myself up, and I was like, why does my hands are killing me? So I had black and blues all over because apparently I was slamming the wall so hard. Wow. So I had black and blues all over my hands.
Wow. What does it feel like to watch? I mean, most actors don't like watching themselves anyway, but in something like this, yeah.
I watched it for the first time in January, and I just remember being really nauseous the whole time because it's my face up there pretty much the entire film, and I was like, oh, what did I make? Oh, this is, I can't watch this. And then after the train scene happens, I sort of was able to disconnect from it being me. But then like 20 minutes later, I was like, oh God, what am I doing?
And I'm curious, what's your background? Like, did you train professionally or?
No, I took acting classes here and there. I went to HB Studios in New York and Stella Adler, but we're talking like class here, a class there. When I moved to LA, I went to Larry Moss Studios and trained with Michelle Danner. So yeah, definitely had
yeah, that's actually a lot
bunch
of training.
of acting classes. I guess so. But and it was great, but I think I learned the most when I was on set.
Sure.
You know, learning from these legends that I was very lucky to work across from.
I mean, this cast is really impressive, and Kathleen Quinlan gets to be your mom. Was that intimidating?
It was really cool. She, her first film, she plays a schizophrenic.
That's right. I Never Promised You a Rose
Yes.
Garden? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I can't believe that was her first movie.
And it's kind of amazing how it came full circle. And when people ask her, like, oh, how was the experience? She's like, oh, I'm happy I didn't have the hard part because I've done that already.
Yes, and she's so much nicer than her character.
By the way, when I watch the film, her last scene kills me. Every time kills me.
And what was it like the first time you saw it with an audience? I don't know where or when that was, but
January.
It was January. Wait, the first time you were seeing yourself, it was an audience. They didn't just like sit you down in a room and say.
No, I was so, because you're nervous, and then because like some of my friends were there, and then it was just a whole big nervous mess.
My God. Was it all people you knew or?
No.
Okay.
Like half.
Yeah. And then it was received well, though. That had to feel good.
It did. Yeah, but you're so in your head most of the time, so.
We actually have a question from Deirdre. I think that's right. Deidre, I'm so sorry. Wanted to know how the experience of playing a schizophrenic changed you, and what insight did you gain from telling this story?
So, I didn't know what schizophrenia was prior to, I mean, I knew what it was, but I didn't really know what it was.
You'd heard the word, but.
Exactly. Yeah. I hope that it brings awareness sort of to what schizophrenia is. And I mean, the biggest reward that I got from this, and there's actually a lot, but one of the things is my mom came up to me after and she said, thank you so much for making this film. I hope it starts a dialogue and people open up, because her sister committed suicide because she was never diagnosed, and because they didn't talk about mental illness. Like nobody ever talked about it. Mm-hmm. And hearing her say that, and she never talks about her sister, to me I called Vincent right after, and I was like, that was the best gift, to sort of hear my mom say that. Mm-hmm. And then, interestingly enough, my husband's a social worker, and he deals a lot with homeless people, and I was thinking about it, and so often, like, we pass a homeless person that's talking to themselves, and I think we all have done this, and we're kind of dismissive a little bit. I'm not dismissive anymore. I think, oh my gosh, this person is talking to hallucination, who is actually there for that person and just needs medication and needs help and doesn't have access to it. And that, made me look at it a completely different way.
You mentioned that Vincent's medications failed, but I'm assuming, because he's out there making great movies, that he was able to get back on track.
Yeah.
But still, that fear has to always be there.
He always says this, it's a never-ending journey. Schizophrenia is something that never leaves you. It's 2010, could happen again tomorrow, and they don't know, but it's like a day at a time, and the medications, it's working right now, and that's kind of...
Sounds like, at least for right now, he has a slightly happier ending than Elizabeth at the end.
Yeah. I got his permission to tell this story because it's a very personal one, but he does have a happy ending right now. But just in April, he tried to commit suicide, and
yeah.
Christ. This is why he hired me, because I'm an emotional mess.
I think we all are, so don't feel bad.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Even after the success of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I assume you guys are still close. That's probably a bond. That doesn't change.
Very close, yeah.
It was so remarkable of him to give you this opportunity and then reward him with this amazing performance. Do you think you guys will work together again?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I really do, yeah. And Joe as well. He's an incredible partner to Vincent and an incredible producer. And he stepped in one day when I had to do the raccoon scene because the raccoon had to go first. Yeah.
Diva.
Such a diva, and did a great job. But then they just released him. They're like, you could go home, take a nap. So I had to do this scene to an empty toilet.
Really?
I had to say goodbye to a toilet. And I had such a hard time connecting, and I was just really tired. I was like, I don't know. I'm saying goodbye, but I'm looking at a toilet. So Joe we did one take and it was bad. And Joe stepped in and he's like, hey, do you mind if I stand in the corner and talk to you when Vincent's is action? And I'm like, sure. And they knew nothing was off limits because we had that relationship. So Vincent's is action. And I'm standing there and Joe starts talking and he says, hey, you have a dog named Honey who's 11 years old, right? And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I know where he's taking this. Uh-huh. And he goes, so maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a month, maybe not even in a year, but there might come a time where you're gonna have to put her down and look into her big eyes and say goodbye. And then he takes it a step further and says, and then you're gonna have to tell your 3-year-old, your 2-year-old that Honey's not with us anymore. And you're actually gonna have to pet her for the last time. And just him talking about it, I lost it, so he stopped talking, and then I did the scene saying goodbye to my dog. She's still alive.
Yeah, she's gonna ask.
She's really old, but she's doing great. And I remember coming home that night and being like, I'm so sorry I killed you in my head. But it was that kind of relationship where they knew nothing was off limits and that they were willing to sort of get me there in any way possible. And obviously that worked.
Yeah, it sounds like you really appreciated it.
I did. I really did, yeah.
What is it you hope for from your ideal director?
The honesty and the communication and just being open.
And can I ask, what's up next? After people have seen this movie, I have to imagine...
I don't know yet.
Well, some people here probably have a script or two. I'm a director. Oh, there you go. There you go. Your next job is right here.
Yeah, well, hopefully, the right thing will come.
I hope it's a nice romantic comedy for your sake.
So does my mother. So does my husband. So does because they both, my mom just had a hard time watching the film, but my husband had a hard time dealing with me for that whole time.
What's your preferred genre? Do you have one, or have you always excelled at drama?
Drama.
Really?
Yeah. In high school, my friends put on Night Mother.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. And so that was I was in the audience, I actually picked the play for them.
What is this high school?
It was senior year, we were drama. anyway, so they do this amazing play. And I remember sitting there being like, this is the kind of stuff I love. Like, I love this like dark drama and so emotional. And I had flowers for them. So I like ran up on stage after and gave them the flowers and like stayed up there like a moment too long, like thinking I was in the play. But yes, I love drama.
Wow. That's interesting because Night Mother is kind of a spiritual cousin in some ways to Elizabeth Blue. I can see that.
Yeah.
So I can see why you were excited about this. Well, I can't wait to see what you do next. I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you guys for being a great audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And